Success with Google Ads today is about so much more than bids and budgets and keywords. Lead generation and e-commerce accounts alike need to take a holistic view of the customer in order to drive sustainable, scalable results. To that end, this is ppc.zone April 2025 Full Funnel Paid Ads. I'm your host, Jill Saskin-Gales. I use the pronouns she and her. I'm a Google Ads coach, ex-Googler, and the founder of the Inside Google Ads course, podcast, and book. I created PPC Zone in 2022 to elevate new perspectives and insights in our industry. I do need to exercise my host privileges to share that my first book, Inside Google Ads, Everything You Need to Know About Audience Targeting, just dropped on Amazon today. It is available internationally, and I am thrilled to share that as of today, I can add best-selling author to my title. So if you would like to check out my book on Amazon, you can search for Jill Saskin-Gales. Our final speaker in the zone today has been called an international man of mystery and a digital nomad by friends. He and his team at Take Some Risk help Ecom, D2C, and retail brands grow through strategy, PPC marketing, and data. We're about to hear him explain how you're lighting your money on fire and you don't even know it. My friend and fellow Torontonian, Duane Brown, is here to talk about Google Ads audits for Ecom. Please welcome Duane.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction. Awesome. Other two fellow speakers. You both did amazing jobs. Truth bombs all the way through. Now, I'm going to talk about Google Ads, Ecom audits, and how people are wasting money, because obviously it's only April of 2025. We've still got 8.5 months of the year left, and so there's lots of time to make your accounts more profitable, make more money, and get ready for summer or Black Friday, whenever your peak season is, assuming Q1 wasn't your peak season. Cool, so we'll talk about conversion tracking, search term report, we're talking about SKU breakdown a little bit, and then I've got some tips and tricks at the end, and hopefully I do not talk too fast with my lovely Canadian accent. All right, so conversion tracking. I think conversion tracking is kind of like that big vault from the DuckTales TV show as a kid where Scrooge McDuck sort of dives in. The reason that is like gold is valuable. You can sell gold anytime. It's probably the most valuable currency next to the US dollar. Well, your conversion tracking is like gold. You can sell it to people and it has value. And there's two ways I see people make mistakes when it comes to conversion tracking. One, I think we've all seen it, is where people have a conversion tracking by Google tag and GA4, or like a Shopify app and GA4, and then they start to double count conversions. And so they think that 5 ROAS in their account is great, but their 5 ROAS is probably really a 2 or 2.5, because every time somebody purchases, they count it twice in Google. And so making sure you don't have double conversion tracking happen is really important, because you'll be shocked how many times we see it in accounts that we audit and people are both shocked and surprised that it happened, whether it's in-house people, other agencies, contractors, freelancers, or whatever bucket you sit in and the role that you have. The other thing we see, and not as often, is that some people will sometimes put a default value in the conversion value. So let's say they put a default value of like $100. And so even though maybe products you sell on your site range from $10 to $500, every time somebody converts, Google signals that conversion as $100. And so if somebody buys a $10 hat, Google says that conversion value is 100. Now, obviously, if somebody bought a $500 product, you don't want them to signal it's 100, but it's way worse when the product is less than $100 and Google thinks it's a $100 purchase. And so making sure you've got great conversion tracking, making sure things like phone calls are set up, leads are set up, even for our B2B e-com clients, form leads and conversions really matter. Then we look at things like, B2C clients, phone calls sometimes matter, because sometimes they will sell things over the phone, because, older audiences don't always want to fill things out online. And so making sure you've got your conversion tracking set up is really, really important. Now, the other thing I think about is I still love the search term report. Now, yes, the search term report is not as good as it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 19 years ago when I started the industry, but I rather some data than no data, because Google could have pulled like a PMAX and just taken away the search term report 100%. Then what would we do? So some data is better than no data. And the reason I think that is when you look at brands like this furniture brand we audited, they were spending a lot of money on things they don't sell. So like recliner chairs, zero gravity chairs. And though they got a few conversions for their massage chair that they did sell, if we didn't have things like the search term report, we wouldn't realize that they are spending money in places they don't want. And then the other thing I think about is like, if you're running PMAX, and I know some people love PMAX, I know some people hate PMAX, you've got search insights, obviously, where Google will tell you buckets of searches that are related to what you sell. I think it's still helpful to look at that to get an idea of where you're going search-wise. If you've seen things you don't love, Google still has search themes. I think a lot of people sleep on search themes, even though it's a great way to help guide and direct your PMAX campaign and tell Google, I kind of want to show up for searches around these things. You could even do your brand name or competitors, hint, hint. And then Google did say as of end of last month, the search term report is going to come to PMAX. So if you don't have it in your ad account yet, it's hopefully going to roll out, in the coming months. And by summer, hopefully you'll have it. Or if you're in Ecom, hopefully have it before Q4. So I still have the search term report because now it's coming to PMAX, and that is a great thing in my book. SKU breakdown. Now, if you're in Ecom, D2C, retail, whatever, you sell things on your website, the thing that I always see is sometimes people put too many SKUs in a campaign. And so let's say they've got like 1,000 SKUs on their site. They might set up one campaign for like $50 a day or $100 a day, and then they'll put all 1,000 SKUs in that one campaign, and then just like let it run. And the challenge with that is Google's really bad at budget distribution. It's really bad at taking your $100 and spreading it across all those SKUs, because in one case, there's too many SKUs in that campaign. But even if there wasn't, Google, like Meta, will often say and pick a winning SKU and then dump all your money in that winning SKU. And so one thing ad accounts need to think about, people who run them, is making sure you balance the number of SKUs in your campaign with the budget for those SKUs. Because if you've got too many SKUs and too little budget, you're just going to be like a car stuck in mud. You're going to spin your wheels and not get somewhere fast. And here's a good example if that happened. We audited an EV brand last year. They had 55 different brands, and they had a lot of brands in their one campaign. So we saw Google spend a lot of money on 3 top brands, but then these other 55 brands had, $10 here, $20 there, $40 there. And if that brand had taken that $881 and put it in those top 3 brands, they would not only make more money, but also be more profitable. And so really understanding how you distribute your budget across your SKUs and your product categories and your brands is going to lead to more success. We see this all the time in ad accounts, and it's probably the one offense I see that makes me just shake my head, because it's an easy thing to solve if you just spend time looking at where your money's going in the ad account and breaking down your ad account and your campaigns based on the different attributes in your shopping feed. So some other examples. So I don't think AI is the biggest opportunity in our industry. I think your mobile conversion rate is the biggest opportunity you have right now, because yesterday, last week, last month, last year, your site was probably bleeding money because your mobile conversion rate was way worse than it was on desktop. All things being equal, I have some exceptions there. And so we look at this example here, we see that the mobile conversion rate is about half of what it is versus the computer, even though the client generally has a cheaper CPA and a better ROAS. And so in this case, I say, well, if we can improve a mobile conversion rate, your CPA would go down even more and your ROAS would improve. Now, obviously, there's examples where that's the opposite in that case, i.e. your mobile conversion rate is still really bad. And then at times you still see your CPA being really good, but then you see your ROAS be really, really bad. And so if you improve your mobile conversion rate, obviously your CPA would get even better, but then your ROAS would get better and you'd be more profitable. We've seen examples where people have 90% of their ad spend going to mobile devices. And so when your mobile conversion rate is half of what it is on desktop and you're spending 90% of your budget on mobile, if you don't improve your mobile conversion rate right now for your peak season that's going to come up in the summer, in the spring, in Q4, you're asking to lose money and not be as profitable as a business. Don't spend more money on email. Don't spend more money on SEO. Don't spend more money on paid ads. Fix your mobile conversion rate. So tips, tricks, and reports and things I look at so I don't go over time. If you don't follow Mike Ryan, if you're still on Twitter or X or whatever, he shares lots of great data around like ad accounts, what he's seeing. So I'd say follow him. He's worth following. Things we look at is like breaking things down by day of the week. Google says it does a good job of distributing your budget, across different metrics and things, but I still look at day of the week to make sure that we're not spending money in a day of the week where it spends lots of money but doesn't get lots of conversions, i.e. we have a B2B dental client. They don't do as well on weekends. We may want to tweak things if we can with the bid strategy we're using to make sure that we're not pulling our cash on weekends when people don't really shop or buy. I like to break things down by network. It's probably the second thing I do after conversion tracking, because you'll be shocked how many people leave on display network, sometimes search partners, and sometimes those things do spend lots of money. I think it's the easiest way to make sure you're not spending money in places you don't want, but you'll be shocked how many people don't actually do it. And then reports. Now, I think Google Ads has a great reports section. I like using the reports section, but lots of people just don't ever build reports. I think it's easier to look at the report in the report section than sometimes pull something up in the actual campaign. Plus, using the reports, you can say you want to aggregate data from multiple campaigns, which is really cool. You can do things by product title. So if you've got a really well-built product type or any of the attributes in your shopping feed, you can build things out and see where you're spending money based on different levels of your product type, which is really cool. Again, I think it's easier to look at this than look at it inside your campaigns and Google Ads. Location is really helpful because if you're like a B2B ecom brand who told your agency to only target America, but they heard take away America, and then you spent lots of money in like parts of Asia, Ghana, India, and spent thousands of dollars every day in countries you don't service, having the reports thing based on location helps you quickly see where you're spending money in the campaign. And so I said it earlier, which is kind of giving away the end of my talk, but I actually don't think that AI is our biggest opportunity. I think AI from an opportunity perspective is probably still another 2-ish years away, maybe 3 years away. Because if you think about it, we used to say the year of mobile since 2007, 2008 when the iPhone came out. But I think the year of mobile only really happened the last couple of years because not only do we have the traffic coming from mobile, but now we have the revenue and the conversions coming to mobile. And so I think the way we can see AI be helpful and help us make more money is still 2 or 3 years away. I think our biggest opportunity is really just fixing our mobile UX or mobile CRO or mobile conversion rate and building better shopping feeds. And the reason I think that is because these are things you can do today, right? They're things you can look at your website, figure out how to fix it, close your pop-ups, make your text slightly bigger, maybe reorganize things on your mobile layout versus how it shows up on desktop, and help that build a better conversion rate, which then means that basically at the end of the day, you're going to have things convert more. You can talk about AI, you can wax poetically about AI, but the impact of AI on your business is very small compared to you fixing your mobile site and or having a better shopping feed. And that's basically my talk. The last thing I want to say basically is I do a salary survey every year. So if you are an employee or you own an agency like me and you want to know what do other people make, half our data from the 800 responses is America, but Canada, UK, Europe are also well represented. It's not scientifically significant, but I think some data on what people make is better than no data, so that if you're an employee, you can advocate for more money. We use it for our own team. And if you own an agency, you can make sure you're paying your people well, which is a good thing. So just follow the bit.ly link. It'll take you to the Reddit thread where you collect all the data. And then hopefully that helps you negotiate salaries this year, because even though it's going to be a hard year, theoretically where you work should give you a raise. It's a nice thing to do. And that's the end of my talk. I've spoken a lot of places. I traveled a lot of places. I love to travel. I'd kill for a travel client of some kind, but that just has never come through. And that's it. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Duane, for sharing your unique perspective and insights with us in the zone. And thank you as well for the PPC salary survey. We have a comment here from Miriam. It's such a helpful service you provide for our industry. So thank you. If you would like to connect with Duane Brown, you can find him on LinkedIn. You can also find him very actively on Reddit. Our next event will be in June. If you would like to apply to speak at an upcoming PPC zone, you can do so on our website. That's ppc.zone. I'm your host, Jill Saskin-Gales. You can follow me on LinkedIn to stay up to date on future events, and you can buy my new book, Inside Google Ads, on Amazon. Thank you for supporting our mission to elevate new perspectives and insights in our industry. I look forward to seeing you next time in the zone.